All right, so good morning, everybody. So you can't hear this speaker or this on the speaker because the microphone is used to project onto the Zoom meeting. So you'll hear my voice as long as you can hear my voice, and we'll be able to hear the Zoom people bringing in. So there's this number of folks here, and there's a significant number of individuals that are participating in this on the Zoom component. So for the folks at home, put your feet up, relax, get out of your pajamas. For the rest of you, there's coffee, tea, donuts at the back. So join us. My name's Larry Hybers. I have the great honor and distinction of being today the president. We'll see if it lasts through the course of the day of PHRF LO. Took over from Mike, and my job is to do some introductions as to what we're about. So we have Diana. For those who don't know, and it's the body behind the name is Diana right here, who does everything. And then additionally in the corner we have Allison, who's on the executive, and we have a couple of other people. We have Mike, we have Owen, we have Bill Visser, we have Adam Farkas as on the central council and or the executive. So the organization of PHRF has been around on the lake and around nationally for a pretty long time, and you've all had PHRF certificates for a period of time. Hopefully you can appreciate or understand that there's been some what we think is evolution, and hopefully we're not labeled with some devolution of how we've done. There's been movement on different things to try and make it more fair. Our purpose is for people to have fun racing. And as a result of that, we try and come up with models that are more effective and better looked at. We are an observed performance organization, but we do balance that with some speed indicator activities. So in the old days, the Morse or IRC, ORC, currently, they give us numbers that we can kind of compare and say, are we close to it? PHRF Lake Ontario captures not only Lake Ontario, further up the St. Lawrence River, this Lake Simcoe, North Bay, Ottawa. So they're in a geographic area, there are pretty diverse wind conditions. We have some studies that look at average wind speeds through the course of the year in different areas. So Kingston, the thermals kick in, it's going to be breezy. Humber Bay, maybe not as breezy. And there are variations of wind speeds around the lake. So some boats perform, we were just talking about some boats that are 2-speed boats. Some boats perform really well in light air and not so good in heavy air. Some need a bunch of air to get going. And in doing so, I sail out of Niagara-on-the-Lake. We have days that we know it's dragon weather. We have a dragon that's very well sailed. But when it's windy, we know that boat's going to do particularly well. We also have some other boats that are particularly good in light air, and we know it's going to be a good day for those boats. And you all have those experiences, even with your own boats, sweet spots of your own boat. We have the difficulty of trying to balance that all out and ensuring that we get it right. We've done that over the course of time with information from Teeters. There's a number of individuals who we've hired to do analysis of both boat formulas and rating systems to come up with right ones, and it's evolved over the course of time. We did move some time ago from 3-second increments to 1-second increments, and there's been a fair amount of dialogue, and we want to continue to have that dialogue, whether that's too granular for our conversations. We all know that 1 second over the course of an evening is really attributable to a slightly slow start, or you didn't clean your bottom, or you blew a tack, or you missed a shift, like all that stuff. 1 second you can make up for or win or gain on that pretty straightforward. Organizationally, we're built on volunteers. So if you're here as a handicapper, we are immensely grateful to you. If you're not a handicapper and you're a certificate holder, we're equally grateful for you, because your fee, I've always structured it or felt that it should be structured around the case of beer portfolio. Your certificate costs about the same as a case of beer. And when people get agitated and go, well, I don't want to spend the $45, and they stroll down the down the dock with 2 cases of beer on, and again, given a Wednesday night and go, but my rating certificate's too expensive. I kind of temper those conversations a little bit. But for that, you get a significant amount of resources available to you, and you get a significant amount of resources at the end of the season. There's a significant amount of race data analysis that happens, which your local handicapper can provide to you. And there's also sorts of information available online. The website is very effective, we think. If it's not, let us know. Again, we're using this day, not only training, but also to ensure that we're improving the services that we're providing to you, the racers, to make it more enjoyable. What else do you need to know about organization? I think that covers, you have local handicappers, district handicappers. The district handicappers meet for the central council meetings that do the reviews. So last month and again tomorrow, central council meets and they will review the any of the outlier handicappers or handicaps of certain boats. And there's ways that we trigger that, and there's question marks on them. The 1, 2, 3, 4 tell you the range in which it needs to be reviewed and considered. And then there's conversations on there. It's not backroom guys in smoking jackets making deals with one another about who gets what rating. That's not how it works. And it's considerably more sophisticated. We have a technical committee made up of naval architects and sailmakers who really understand what's going on in the boats and what's with them. And we look at whether those boats are performing well and are they sailing to the best of to their rating. PHRF assumes that your boat is well prepared with good sails, and you know what you're doing. Some people know more than what they know and are particularly effective, and you know those particularly exceptional racers, and they outperform their boat. You also know people who aren't quite as competent and they underperform in their boat. We don't rate, or we try not to rate the crew. We try and try and look at the boat itself and the speed potential of the boat, so that equal to equal, apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So we're not trying to, you don't have to be as efficient as an Olympic sailor. The Olympic sailor is going to beat you. Don't kid yourself. But if you just started, you should expect that. And you would hope that that would be the case. If you're beating the Olympic sailor, you're probably going to keep that boat forever. But if you're not, don't blame the boat. Right. So some of those conversations. So being fair and realistic about your abilities, we all fit on a continuum of competency. And our goal is that this will motivate you to try and improve your competency, which makes it more fun. So I think that covers most of the history and the organization. Gets us back on schedule. What is next?
That's Bill Visser.
So Bill Visser is the district rep for the eastern portion of the lake and other parts. The paying part of the world.
Yes, the real part of the world. Yes. Okay, so as Larry mentioned, my name is Bill Visser. I'm the district chief for Eastern, and came originally from the Toronto area and learned a lot more about how different parts of the lake function and priorities. So it's been quite good. So one of the things that we have to deal with PHRF is what is a class boat? It's a question that comes up a lot. Like, what do you mean by a class boat? I'm going to talk a little bit later on about the race management portion and how things fit into the big picture. So for right now, I'm just going to talk about what we, PHRF LO, looks at to be class boat. First of all, we look at very high level. We look at basically the rig, the hull, the keel, the rudder. Those conditions is what we say they should be somewhat the same, or they should be the same. Those are the first things. Yes, we do get a little bit more granular than that, and I'll get into that in a minute. The other thing that we consider what is a class boat is the production. Is it manufactured by one manufacturer? Is it manufactured by several who have manufacturing under license, which means there are standards in place, so we can control it. They can control the size. So again, we have consistency in design and construction. Again, it's the same boat. Now, sometimes if you have a boat, you can say, okay, it's an existing one. If not, does this become a new class? For PHRF, a new class, whatever. And sometimes you can have variations in it. For example, the CNC 27. There are 5 different models that we look at that are all labeled under the CNC 27. The reason for that is there was enough difference between the production runs or groups of them or designs, whichever way they broke it. There was enough differences between that to say, you know what, this is no longer the same boat. We cannot deal with this change based on our adjustment tables, which I'm going to get into. We cannot fix it because of that. So we say, time for a new class. So that's where you get the CNC Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, and Mark 5. And you'll see in some other cases in the listing some other dash whatever boats, because again, things change and sometimes the changes are significant. All right. Which takes us to what is a custom boat? Well, a custom boat is exactly that. It's a unique boat. It's usually a one-off design. You'll usually only see a lot of them. They become lots of fun to keep an eye on. And a lot of cases, they can be built to order. There's a few of them that are a standard one-off with very few options available. Some of them, they say, well, here's the basic hull. What would you like on it? And whoever buys it can ask for it to be changed whichever way. Big example of that one, the one most people see is the Andrews 30. That's the one that we see a lot of the numbers coming up because there's a few of them around. There's what, 5 Andrews 30s, and they're all different enough that we can't say with the same class. So it's fun. All righty. So now we're talking about what is a standard boat. And this could be whether it's a class or a custom. When we start doing the assessments, when we initially decide how fast do we think this boat is going to be, where we create the SP or the speed potential, we look at a number of things. First of all, we presume that it's got a 155% Genoa. We presume it has a 180% flying sail. It's got the standard flying attachment points. It's got basically it's the standard mast that comes as shipped from the manufacturer, and the engine. We look at the propulsion, whatever type it is. Whether it's inboard, outboard, gas, diesel, electric. Right now, we don't really worry the difference between gas, diesel, and electric. Hopefully that doesn't change, but I will not commit to that. So anyway, this is what we use to start off when we do our SP for the boat. Then once we have our SP, we can then start working towards creating what we call our ASP, adjusted speed potential. With that one, this is when there's variations in the class. Minor changes could be different sail size. We have tables that adjust for that. It could be your propulsion is different. Again, whether you're inboard, outboard, or retractable, different boats come different ways. The blades on your prop, believe it or not, that can be a factor. As I said, we currently don't adjust for engine type. The intent with PHRF is the boat is as shipped by the manufacturer. So there should be no removal of things to lighten the boat. Let's take all the cushions out. Let's take out this bulkhead. Let's take out these doors. I'm going to remove the head and put in a bucket. You start doing those things, you're modifying the boat. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So if you see somebody, or if you yourself are lightening the boat by doing all of this wonderful stuff, you will receive the official wag of the finger from us. That's a no-no. It is supposed to be as shipped by the manufacturer. Relocation of equipment around. Some people will move things around in the boat to distribute weight. Normally things, you move your sail inventory, you spread them around for safety and access reasons. Absolutely not a problem. Oh, I want to take this engine that's designed to be hung off the back of the boat, and I'm going to put it forward on top of the keel. Yeah, no, if that's not normally done, then that's a no-no. So again, as standard. Alrighty. How am I doing on time? Oh, still good. Okay, so what is a non-standard boat? Well, different from standard. Keeps it simple. This is again where we look at, can we fix the variations in adjustments? Usually it's because our adjustments don't account for it. And these can be, for example, right now, different keels. If you take your keel off your boat and put a different one on, right now, we have to look at that as a modification, a change to the boat becoming non-standard, whereas Again, I will not commit to this, so don't hold me to it, but we are trying to figure out a way to make that can be fixed at an adjustment table, make it simpler on us. Modified class, sometimes it's a variation by the manufacturer. They'll come out and they say, you know what, we come out with bathtub 23s and we found out that there is a problem, so we're going to modify it into a different thing. And they don't call it something different, such as, you know, the bathtub 23 Mark II. They'll just keep saying it's the same thing. Well, then we have to look at this. Do we define it as a new class? Or do we say, yep, this is something that we change our standard? It becomes one of those enthusiastic discussions we have at Central Council. Sometimes the owner will make modifications themselves. Years ago, club that I was out of, Ashbridges Bay, we had the one fellow, he had a Viking 33. And over about 7 years, it became a Viking 34. He changed every year. He changed one thing, changed the mast, changed the keel, changed the rudder. Yeah. So as a result, in the system, every year we had a mod on the Viking 33. And finally, I think when we got to about mods 5 or 6, it suddenly was like, hey, it's now Viking 34. Yay. That again, lots of fun with that. So again, modified changes by the owner. Now, the presumption is when you make a modification to your boat is obviously to slow it down and make yourself sail worse, right? Yes, no, perhaps indifferent. Well, when you do modifications, it's important that we as handicappers and as other competitors, it's important that you keep an eye out. If you see somebody making modifications to the boat, they're looking to improve their performance, we need to know what those are. Sometimes there are variations that allow us that say, yeah, you know, it's a non-issue. Sometimes it's something that we have to change. For example, if you change from a standard aluminum mast to a carbon fiber mast, we will address that. There will be a change. I'm not saying you can't do it, just we need to know about it so we can adjust for it. All righty. So when we are creating a new class, I touched on this very little bit earlier. Get my words mixed up here. When creating a new class, first of all, a new class is initially at a district level. The presumption is it's a unique boat to that district. So the district itself will say, this is what we think the initial assignment should be. If it is the same boat shows up in multiple districts, the same type of boat shows up in multiple districts and there's multiple additional assessments, that's when Central Council gets involved and we try and look at it and we try and reconcile the differences, if any, between the groups. The expectation is that the club handicapper for that boat is the one who will present it to their district, who will say, here's what I recommend the number to be, and this is how we get to it. Then there's a wonderful group discussion, and the district's chief's responsibility is to supervise the process, and sometimes they'll provide the club handicapper with some assistance in coming up with this recommendation. And there it is. Last slide. Okay, so and when you're making that, when the handicapper is creating the recommendation, key part to all this one is gather information. You can never have too much. Use the handicapper's worksheet, which is available through PHRF, and again, the district chief or district representative, whichever title you want to use, they will help with that. Use all of the tabs. It is a very much multi-tabbed process. It's one of these strange things. It's like doing your taxes. Just follow the process all the way through. Even if it doesn't seem to be making sense at that time, in the end, it works. It's a great tool, hint, hint, tool. It is not the arbiter. It is one that gives you an idea as to this is where you probably should be. There is a video on this that's available. And on top of that, I think Diane's going to be talking about that shortly. Yes, no, oh, she's not. There's a video on it. There's information in the handicapper's manual. And of course, your district chief will be able to work your way through it. Also gather information from the manufacturer. Now, keeping in mind, manufacturers' brochures are created to sell boats. They're going to sound wonderful. So take the manufacturer specifications as gospel, subject to intense scrutiny and verification. Other reliable sources, boatdata.com. magazine articles, believe it or not, when new boats come out and some of these magazine articles that do reviews of it, these people, they'll take measurements of themselves for the article. Look at that. See, why are we doing all this? To create controversy? No, but if you're looking through and everybody keeps coming up with the same numbers, then chances are the numbers you have are reliable. If not, you may have to, or with the help of others, may have to go out and actually take the measurements off the boat itself. Oh, that's fun. Check with other perf regions outside of Perf Lake Ontario. US Sailing Book, they've got specifications. Numbers could be there. Keep an eye on it. Be careful. Watch for bias. Everybody has it, whether you like it or not. There is always something. Be sure to be able to always step back from it. And the big thing out of this one is most people believe that the P in perf stands for political or payoff. It doesn't. As Larry said earlier, it's performance. So to avoid the appearance of impropriety, it's best to be very transparent in all of this, what you're doing. Don't make it a secret society.
That. So now with further ado, it's Diana's turn.
Wish I had printed out like Bill. Anyways, I'm going to be looking up at the screen. So this is going to be more of an interest for handicappers. As for certificate holders, you're going to just know now what you got to do to get your certificate renewed or changed or whatever. So anyways, the first thing that has to be done is club dues have to be paid. That's the only time the handicapper will have access to what we call my certificates or the online certificates. So the first thing you have to do is you go to searches and queries, member club query, and you put in the club code or the club name, and it's going to show you if the payment is received, or it'll say not paid. Okay. So the next screen is you have to be logged in. If you're a handicapper and you've registered and you've been approved as a handicapper, you'll be allowed to log in, and from there you'll see next screen that you now have a menu item that allows you to have access to all kinds of different things, which in particular is called My Certificates. So within there, you can now renew or edit a certificate. Most of you are probably familiar with this. Has been around for a couple of years now. But we're going to go in. I pretended that I'm handicapper at Etobicoke Yacht Club, and we're going to go in and play around with a certificate. So we'll go to the next one. So as you can see, you have the option to just renew a certificate or edit a certificate. There's a little arrow there. It's a drop down. You can also do multiple certificates on the next screen. You can renew a whole bunch of certificates at the same time by checking them. And then there's a little drop down at the top, and it'll say renew those certificates, and it'll just automatically renew all of them. That's not changing them. It's strictly, it had nothing on the boats changed. You just want to renew the certificate for the coming season. Now we'll go to the next one. Say, okay, this time we're going to edit the certificate. It's going to open up a form. You can't create a certificate from this section. You can't add a new boat to a certificate from this section, but we're getting there in 2023, and I'll go through that. It's going to be, we're working on it right now. It hasn't been released yet, but there will be a certificate, what we're calling the certificate worksheet. But we'll keep going with edit certificate. So you'll see all the top data is just basic information about the certificate holder, the who it is, when it was last revised, what the year is. Next. And then I've blanked out the person's address and stuff, but you can change the address information on the you'll see that there's tabs up there. You've got the owner certificate update, boat and sail update, and there's calculations, and you can see the. So if we go to the next screen. Okay, so here you can change all kinds of boat information. You can change the handicap type if you want it flying sails and non-flying sails to go just non-flying sails. That's an option. And then as you go down the screen, I didn't continue that bit because I mean there's a lot of screens, but it gives you little helpful hints on what's supposed to be inside those boxes, and there is a point when it will do some checks. So we'll continue, and it'll show you if you've entered a new head sail or a LP, it'll show you the new head sail measurement and the percent as well as spinnaker calculations. And then on the final tab, which is the revised handicap, It tells you what the new handicap is, and that's for informational purposes only. There is a disclaimer that the above handicaps are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the actual certificate, because nothing's final until it hits the admin office for per fellow. And basically we have a connection to the online stuff, and we'll go through that as well. So we'll go to the next screen. Okay, so once you've done everything, you're going to hit the save enabled button will light up. It won't light until you have entered something. Okay, go to the next screen. Okay, if there are errors, it will tell you errors and it will give you warnings. Errors, it will stop you from processing and you won't be able to continue until you fix it. A warning is basically to say, are you sure you want to do this? Because it's probably going to be some kind of, like, especially with main sales, which I did on purpose, that there's missing main sale measurements, which means there's going to be a penalty of 3 seconds. So it'll let it go through, but it will prompt you to fix the problem. Go to the next screen. Okay, so the other thing that a handicapper has the option to do is, because I know a lot of the owners switch back and forth from clubs and go different places. So we built in, it's called bring to my club function. So what can happen is Mr. Mike Smith here from Bay of Quinte has decided he's going to be a member at the Etobicoke Yacht Club. So I have to go into certificate queries while I'm logged in. As long as you're logged in, the system understands that you're from Etobicoke Yacht Club or whatever club you're from. So we'll go to the next screen. And what you'll see if you're logged in is you'll see a little box that says bring to my club right beside the club. Okay, so that what happens is when that's clicked, that's actually going to, it prompts what we call a certificate transaction, which is similar and actually identical to changing a certificate and making changes to the boat. Okay, go to the next screen and you'll see it's the exact same screen. Okay, so it's the exact same function. It's basically just pushed it over to a certificate transaction. Certificate transactions are things, are informations on certificates that's sitting up on the web until we, the admin, hook to it and bring that information down into our system and do an update. Okay, so this is all exactly the same. You can make changes. You can change his address because now he's not in Belleville. He's now in Toronto. You want to change his address. You can do all that as well. Again, it's all the same function, the same, you can change sales, and etc. Okay, so for 2023, this is brand new, and that's why I was kind of grinning when we were talking about the handicappers worksheet. It's actually no longer available. We've it's it's available for district chiefs for setting new ratings. Okay, but if you want a new certificate, we've instituted a certificate worksheet. It's not functioning quite yet, but it's almost ready. Okay, I'm working with the programmer we have a back end thing that we're working on, and this is actually screenshots from our sandbox, basically. Okay, so there's a certificate worksheet. We'll go to the next screen, and basically it's a list similar to my certificates, where you can see anything that you've been working on, and you have the option to create a new certificate. So you would click on that link, and up would come. Basically, it looks similar to the certificate transaction, because it really is just a data gathering tool, then going to go to a certificate transaction. So you're going to fill in all the information, all the owner information, boat information, if you want to keep going. Okay, boat information, there's a drop down to pick the class. You can put in your boat sale number, the rating that you want, etc. Next screen. No, as in what you want to race, flying sales, non-flying sales. Sorry, my term is to say rating, but yes, no. See, the number is handicap. Is the racing number. Okay. Exactly like the certificate transactions, when you're making changes, it's all to 2 decimal points, and always in feet. We don't do metric because our system was set up like this a long time ago. So we just follow with it. So we'll go to the next screen. Again, you can save this. Now, this came from the programmer actually, and he thought, and his thing was, your part through, and the delivery guy comes to the door, and you got to run and go get your delivery. So you hit save, and that information will be saved for you to do later, or if you're missing information.
Feet. It's feet, not feet and inches.
No, it's decimal feet.
Decimal. So
Decimal
it's out of
feet.
10 out of 12.
Yeah, right. It's decimal feet. But most handicappers understand that's decimal feet. Yes? Okay. So anyways, back to this. Okay, so you can at this point save the information you put in to finish it later. Okay, the Amazon guy's at the door, you got to go grab it. The kids have to be picked up from school. You can save it for later, or the owner forgot to give you some information. You got to go back, get the information so you can put it in later. Okay, so that you can save at any point. And then there's a validate worksheet. So basically that's kind of like a pre-check to make sure that the information you've put in is what we're looking for. Okay, the required information is there. It's a pre-check because all this is going to end up in the certificate transaction again, which is going to throw out warnings, throw out errors, and it's kind of like to pre-catch that stuff. And once you're done and everything's validated, you'll be the create certificate transaction button will light up. You'll click on that. And the next screen, please. And now you are actually in a certificate transaction. So what it's done is it's taken it from your own save spot and put it up to a certificate transaction that's now connected with us and the office. Okay, so that if you hit save at this point, the office recognizes that this process, and if we're online, we're going to process it. Okay, as long as it's still a certificate worksheet in your own little spot, then we don't touch that. We don't touch it until it hits a certificate transaction. Okay, so here again, you can do edits. And I just wanted to mention certificate transactions for anybody who's done one, whether it's a renewal, a change, or you've processed a certificate worksheet. They are all available to you to edit or delete even. You did something, you renewed a certificate, and all of a sudden, no, I didn't want to do his certificate. You can go in there and you have the option to delete it. Okay. Only if it's before we got a hold of it. Okay. And we're pretty during the height of sailing season, we're on it pretty good. Like within a couple of days, if it's up there, it'll be processed. So it's kind of, if you make a mistake, make sure you realize it right away and go in and either fix it or delete it and do it again later. Okay. So once we've processed it, basically your certificate transaction sits there. We have a connection to our database in-house. And once we process it, it tells the list of certificates online that the certificate is suspended until we've updated. Okay, so that you can no longer make any changes to the certificate until we've done a complete update on it. Okay, so but if you tried to edit it, it would throw an error and say you can't do this. It's suspended until the office is done with it. Okay, because it might take us a day or something if there's a problem. Okay, next screen. So you'll see that the certificate transactions, they're available from multiple different places. You've got My Certificates, the main screen link. You've got it from handicapping and the handicappers manual, and from searches and queries, there's also a My Certificate link there. Okay, so there's different places that a handicapper can access to this. And that's also for My Certificates. Certificate worksheet will be the same, and all your certificate transactions. Okay, so like I said, it sits there and waits until we've processed it. Once we processed it, it disappears from your list. Okay, next, and that's it.
How do we do, if we're not getting the worksheet or an updated worksheet, how do we do a new class?
Well, that's where the district chiefs are going to do it. The district chiefs are going to have to take the information that you supply, and they're going to start filling out the handicappers worksheet.
That's whatever information we gather, this will
Pardon me?
Well, just whatever information we gather, we just send it. to the
Yeah,
district.
yeah, and,
There's no
and
form to submit it. Then.
no. No, that'd be a form that would be distributed. The district chief can do it, but no, it won't. They wanted the online certificate to be the tool for the handicapper and not the handicapper's worksheet. So the handicapper's worksheet is now going to be a tool for just setting new handicaps, and it's only available to the district chiefs. For setting new, it's setting a new handicap. It's a new class. Yes.
If that will work,
No, no. So the handicappers are going to be able to create a certificate, but as far as a new class is concerned, now that's gone to the district chiefs. So the handicapper will supply the information, the district chief will compile the information. They're probably the better person to do it anyways, because they'll have the central council to bounce things off of if they want to do comparisons, et cetera.
and then once the rating is established, then we would create the new certificate. for that.
Correct. Well, no, actually, what'll happen is the handicapper's worksheet, it'll be submitted along with the minutes for the meeting. And then the admin office, because we basically do them side by side, we create the class and then we create the certificate immediately.
So you would want then the application form. submitted
Yes.
to the district.
Yes, everything. Yeah.
I think the over gets a new sale that may be different size. Are they allowed to request that change and is there a cost for that?
No, then they can do one change a season. Unless it's to replace a broken sale or something. Okay, but it's one change a season.
So the Zooms can hear it.
Oh. Okay, hang on. No. Okay, so what I was asked was if an owner gets a new sale, if there's a fee for that, and no, there is not a fee. It is, the owners are allowed to change their certificate once a season unless the sale is broken or it's a repair type situation.
So there's some questions from the Zoom group, so I'll read them so everybody can see. So it's where can we get copies of the handicappers worksheet and video resources? So online, that information is available. Handicappers worksheet is no longer available to the handicapper.
Proprietary information.
Because Central Council didn't want it distributed because it was getting widely distributed and it was being abused.
So one of the information that we have, there's a significant amount of investment, and those that are buying certificates are buying a service. Giving that away for free limits the ability of PHRF to continue to, one, to be viable, and two, to continue to grow and evolve in an effective way. So